The night began like every other high-profile party in the city. Bright lights, fake smiles, and 100 people pretending they weren't terrified of the man who owned half the streets they walked on. They whispered his name like a warning, like a prayer, like a sin they wished they hadn't spoken out loud. Adrian Russo, the youngest mafia boss the city had ever seen. Sharp jaw, sharper temper, a man who could end a life with a whisper, or save one with a single decision. And tonight, Adrian walked into the Valentini family's mansion with one intention only: celebrate his girlfriend's promotion, and disappear before someone begged him for a favor he didn't want to grant. But fate had other plans. The ballroom was crowded. Too many bodies, too much perfume, too much noise. Adrian hated crowds. Too many angles, too many threats, too much warmth pressing in on him from people who didn't deserve to stand this close. So when someone tugged his sleeve from behind a column, he didn't react like a man who feared ambush. He reacted like a man who recognized the touch of the woman he loved. Soft, familiar, warm, he followed the pull without a second thought. The music outside swelled. The shadows swallowed him whole. And for a moment, just a single, reckless heartbeat, Adrian allowed himself to exhale, allowed himself to feel something other than responsibility and danger. A delicate hand slid up his chest. A soft breath pressed against his neck. And before he could speak, before he could ask why she'd pulled him into the dark like this, her lips touched his. It was gentle at first, almost questioning, then deeper, certain, claiming. Heat flooded his chest. Instinct took over. Adrian kissed back, slow, strong, the way a man kisses the woman he thinks he knows better than his own soul. And then, someone laughed. Not the woman in his arms. Someone else, someone watching. The chandelier lights flicked back on. And that's when Adrian felt his entire world snap clean in half. Because the woman standing only a few feet away, arms folded, eyes wide with betrayal, was his actual girlfriend, Isabella Valentini, and the woman he was still holding against the wall, the woman whose lipstick now stained his mouth, the woman staring up at him with victory gleaming in her eyes, was her younger sister, Serena, beautiful, manipulative, untouchable, known for getting everything she wanted. Except him. Adrian froze. His pulse stopped. His throat dried. Serena didn't step back, didn't apologize, didn't show an ounce of shame. She slid her fingers down his chest, slowly, almost lovingly, her lips curled into the softest, deadliest smirk he had ever seen on anyone. And then she leaned in, so close only he could hear her. Her voice was a whisper carved from silk and poison. One wrong kiss. She dragged her nail lightly along his jaw. And now you're mine. Adrian felt the room tilt. Isabella gasped, stepping backward like she'd been punched. Guests stared in stunned, delicious silence. Whispers rose like fire catching dry wood. Serena kept her eyes locked on him, and her smile deepened. Not innocent, not surprised. Planned. Planned down to the second. Adrian knew he'd walked straight into a trap, and the woman who'd set it now owned the detonator. His voice finally returned, rough and dangerous. Serena, what the hell did you just do? She only shrugged, brushing invisible dust off his blazer like she'd just straightened a lover, not destroyed a relationship. Then she whispered one final sentence. A promise, not a threat. Don't worry, Adrian. I'll take good care of what's mine. And as Isabella ran from the room in tears, Serena slid her hand into his and squeezed. The room didn't breathe. Not the guests, not the air, not Adrian himself. For a full, suspended moment, the only thing he could hear was the echo of Serena's whisper, soft, poisonous, and terrifyingly confident. Now you're mine. Adrian stepped back like he'd just touched fire, breaking her hold on his jacket. But the damage was done. The crowd saw. The rumors were already alive, swarming, multiplying, spreading, like infection. Serena didn't look at anyone else. Just him, always him. Like she'd finally captured the prey she'd hunted for years. He stormed after Isabella, but Serena's fingers closed around his wrist. Not tight, just enough to stop him. That soft stop was somehow more powerful than a gunshot. Adrian, she murmured, low enough that only he could hear. You go after her now, and everything gets worse for you. His jaw clenched, hard. You think you can control me? She leaned in, her breath brushing his cheek. "Sweetheart, I already did." Adrian ripped his arm free and marched out of the ballroom, ignoring the shocked gasps around him. The hallway outside was dim, cold, mercifully empty, but Isabella was nowhere. He spotted her only when he heard the quiet sound of a woman trying not to break down, a soft, strangled gulp of air. She stood in the corner near a marble column, her hands trembling, mascara running down her cheeks in ink-black rivers. "Isabella," he began. She flinched like the sound of his voice burned her. "Don't," she whispered, shaking her head. "Don't come closer." "Nothing happened," he said quickly. "She pulled me into the shadows. I thought it was you." "And you didn't notice?" Her voice cracked. "You didn't feel the difference?" He opened his mouth, but the truth was ugly. He should have. But for one reckless second, he hadn't been thinking. He'd let himself feel something soft, something tender, something rare, and Serena had weaponized it. "Isabella," he said again, gentler this time. "Look at me." She finally raised her eyes. Pain, betrayal, humiliation, all tied together in a knot that made his chest tighten. "Do you know what you looked like?" she whispered. "When the lights came on, like you belonged to her." "I belong to no one," Adrian growled. "Especially not Serena." Isabella hugged herself. "She planned it. Everyone saw that. You know what she's like." He nodded. "I know, and I'm going to fix this." She gave a bitter, broken laugh. "You can't fix what the entire family just watched." Her lips trembled. "Do you have any idea what they're saying already?" He did. He could practically hear the echo from inside the ballroom. The Mafia boss chose the younger sister. He was never loyal. Serena wins again. Adrian took a slow breath. "Come home with me. We'll talk. Privately." Isabella shook her head, backing away a step. "I can't. Not right now. I need time." His stomach sank. "Isabella, please," she whispered. "Just let me go." This time Adrian didn't try to stop her. He watched her walk down the hall, each step further away from him. Each step a punishment. He couldn't fight. But the moment she disappeared around the corner, he felt eyes on him. Slow, satisfied, silent, Serena. She leaned against the doorway of the ballroom, arms crossed, smile faint and lethal. "You just let her walk away," she murmured. "Stay away from me," Adrian snapped. But she only tilted her head, unfazed. "Why? I'm the one you kissed." His blood boiled. "You set that up." "Oh, Adrian." Her voice dropped to a silkier, darker whisper. "You think I'm done?" He stared at her, realization sinking like ice. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't jealousy. This wasn't impulse. This was war. Serena pushed off the wall and brushed past him slowly, deliberately, her shoulder grazing his, as she whispered, "Welcome to the game." The Valentini mansion had survived gunfights, betrayals, political storms, and 3 generations of Mafia warfare, but nothing shook its walls like the scandal that erupted the moment Serena stepped back into the ballroom. Adrian followed her in with a storm behind his eyes, but the room was already burning. Whispers lashed like knives. Gasps spread like wildfire. And the Valentini family, one of the most powerful Mafia families on the East Coast, was gathering like a tribunal. At the center of it stood Don Matteo Valentini, Isabella and Serena's father, a man carved from tradition, pride, and silence. Tonight, that silence was gone. His voice split the room. What the hell happened? Every guest froze. Every eye snapped toward Adrian. Every rumor sharpened into accusation. Serena stepped forward first. Of course she did. Her expression a perfect blend of trembling, innocence, and calculated devastation. "Daddy, I didn't want anyone to see." Adrian stiffened. She was doing it. She was playing the victim card with the precision of a surgeon. Matteo's face hardened. "See what, Serena?" Her bottom lip quivered. "Adrian and we've been close. But I never wanted Isabella to find out this way." A thunderbolt of shock rattled the crowd. Someone whispered, "The Mafia boss betrayed her with her own sister." Another voice, "Serena always wins." Another, "Poor Isabella." Adrian's voice cut through them, low and lethal. "Stop talking before you choke on your own lies." Serena turned to him with glossy eyes. Adrian, please don't deny us. Us? He repeated, disbelief turning to fury. There is no us. There has never been an us. Mateo's jaw clenched. Then what did we all witness in front of the entire ballroom? Adrian took one step forward. A setup, a trap. Your daughter dragged me into the dark and kissed me without my consent. Gasps. Shock. A few men cursed under their breath. But Serena didn't flinch. Instead, she let a single tear fall, perfectly timed, perfectly tragic. Daddy, he's lying to protect himself. He didn't push me away. He held me. He kissed me like he meant it. Adrian's fist tightened. Mateo's gaze shifted between them, between the cold rage of a mafia boss and the trembling performance of a daughter who had been raised to weaponize softness. Serena, he said slowly, look me in the eyes. Tell me the truth. She did. And she lied. Adrian kissed me first. The ballroom exploded. Shouting, accusations, arguments colliding with fear and loyalty and pride. Adrian didn't shout back. He didn't raise his voice. He stepped into the chaos with a calm that made even the bravest men in the room uneasy. If I wanted Serena, he said, I would have taken her years ago. But I did not. And I do not. She planned this. Serena inhaled sharply, offended on cue. Why would I plan something like this? For attention, Adrian answered coldly. For power. For the one thing you can't stand seeing. Your sister have something you want. Serena froze. Just 1 second, just one flicker. But Adrian saw it. The crowd saw it. Mateo saw it. A crack in her mask. But she recovered fast, tilting her head with wounded sweetness. You think too highly of yourself, Adrian. Not everything revolves around you. It does when you design it that way. The tension coiled tighter, sharper. And then, Isabella re-entered the ballroom. Her face pale, eyes swollen, hands trembling. The entire room went dead silent. She looked at her father first, then at Serena, then finally at Adrian, and her voice, quiet, broken but steady, cut deeper than any accusation. Dad, Serena didn't plan this because she wants Adrian. Every heartbeat stopped. She planned it because she wants everything I touch. Serena's breath hitched. The guests leaned in. Isabella's voice cracked as she finished. And she'd burn this entire family to get it. For years, Adrian Russo believed he understood the Valentini family, their alliances, their grudges, their loyalties, and the cracks beneath their polished facade. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared him for the truth that began unraveling the moment Isabella's words echoed across the ballroom. She wants everything I touch. Serena's mask finally trembled. The guests watched with predatory fascination, hungry for scandal, terrified of choosing the wrong side. Don Mateo's face darkened, suspicion slowly poisoning the certainty he always held about his youngest daughter. Serena, he said quietly, dangerously. Tell me Isabella's lying. For the first time tonight, Serena looked less like a flawless actress and more like a trapped animal. Her breath hitched, her lashes fluttered too fast. And in that moment, Adrian realized Serena wasn't breaking. She was calculating, measuring, choosing the moment to strike back. Then, she smiled, a soft, haunting smile. Daddy, she whispered, why would I ever want the things she touches? I have my own life, my own dreams, my own men. A few guests exchanged glances. A few murmured. The lie was too smooth, too pretty, too practiced. Isabella shook her head. That's not true. And you know it. Serena's eyes sharpened like glass. Isabella continued, voice trembling but honest. You've been sabotaging me since we were children. Not because you needed anything, but because you couldn't stand that I had. Something before you did. Her voice broke. Friends, attention, Dad's approval, and now Adrian. Serena's smile finally cracked. An invisible fracture, a split-second reveal of something vicious underneath. Adrian saw it. Mateo saw it. The entire room felt the shift. This wasn't sisterly rivalry. This was obsession. Cold, controlled, brewing for years like poison waiting for the perfect glass. Serena inhaled slowly, then turned to Adrian. "Do you want to know the truth?" she asked softly, almost lovingly. "I didn't plan to kiss you. Tonight. I planned to tell you." Adrian's voice dropped. "Tell me what?" She stepped closer, her eyes gleaming under the chandelier lights. "That you chose wrong." A ripple of cold slid down Adrian's spine. Serena continued, voice low. "Dangerous, intimate. You chose Isabella because she was safe. Because she was predictable. Because she wouldn't challenge the darkness inside you." She leaned in. "But you and I? We're the same kind of broken." Isabella flinched. Matteo stiffened. Adrian's jaw tightened. "You don't know a damn thing about me." Serena whispered, "I know everything." Then she pulled back, and the flashback began. Not in images, but in words. Spoken like a confession she'd rehearsed in mirrors for years. "You think I didn't notice you when we were younger? When you came to the house to negotiate with Dad, and Isabella was still in college. When everyone called you dangerous. But you stood in our kitchen drinking espresso like the world didn't scare you?" Her voice softened to a tremble. "I watched you. I studied you. I waited for you." A collective inhale from the room. Serena continued, eyes locked on him. "You were never supposed to choose her. You were supposed to choose me." But she got in the way, like she always does. Isabella stepped back, horrified. Matteo's voice thundered, "Serena." "Enough!" But Serena didn't stop. She was too far gone. Too deep into the truth she'd buried for years. She took everything from me. Every friend. Every compliment. Every opportunity. Even you. Her voice cracked. Not theatrically this time, but with raw, festering resentment. "So yes," she whispered, "I kissed you. And I'd do it again." Silence swallowed the room. Then Serena delivered the final blow. The truth that turned admiration into obsession, jealousy into strategy. "Because, Adrian, I don't just want you." Her voice softened, darkened. "I want the life you would have built with her." A chill swept across the ballroom, and Adrian finally understood. Serena didn't desire him. She desired possession, control, victory, power, and she was willing to burn her own family alive to get it. Scandal doesn't stay inside a ballroom, not when it involves a mafia boss, 2 sisters, and a family powerful enough to crush cities. By the next morning, the Valentini mansion wasn't the only place whispering. Every corner of the underworld knew, and Adrian Russo's name was at the center of it. The sun hadn't even risen when Adrian stepped into the Russo Syndicate headquarters, a towering, windowless structure shaped like a threat. His second-in-command, Rocco Moretti, waited at the door with a grim expression. "Boss," Rocco muttered, "we have a situation." "I know," Adrian growled. "The entire East Coast woke up with my name in their mouth." Rocco shook his head. "No, not gossip." He hesitated. "The council called an emergency meeting." Adrian stopped walking. The Mafia Council wasn't a group you ignored. They weren't politicians. They weren't businessmen. They were the 7 men who decided who lived, who died, and who ruled. If they summoned him, it wasn't curiosity. It was suspicion. Adrian exhaled slowly. Of course they did. The chamber was cold, circular, lined with portraits of dead kings of the underworld. Adrian pushed open the heavy double doors, stepping inside with the weight of 2 families on his shoulders. 7 men looked up, some sympathetic, some amused, some calculating. The head of the council, Enzo De Luca, tapped his cane twice. "Mr. Russo," he said, voice dry as dust, "you've caused quite the spectacle." Adrian didn't bow, didn't flinch, didn't show weakness. "I didn't cause anything. I was dragged into a setup." A few council members exchanged glances. Enzo leaned forward. "A setup by whom?" Adrian's jaw tightened. "Serena Valentini." Murmurs rippled across the table. One of the older men, Don Caruso, snorted. "The youngest Valentini? She's a child compared to you." "She's more dangerous than half the men in this room," Adrian countered. Enzo's eyes narrowed. "Explain." Adrian told them everything. The kiss, the trap, the family explosion, Serena's confession of obsession. No embellishment. No excuses. When he finished, the room was silent. Then Don Caruso smirked. A mafia boss brought to his knees by a woman. How poetic. Another councilman added, and how careless. Rocco stepped forward, voice sharp. Boss wasn't careless. He was ambushed. But Enzo raised a hand, silencing him. Adrian, he said slowly, thoughtfully, we don't care about your personal affairs. We care about leverage, weakness, vulnerability. His gaze hardened. And a scandal involving two sisters, one of whom appears to be mentally unstable, creates vulnerability. Adrian's fists tightened. You think I let this happen? We think you must control it, Enzo replied. Before the Valentinis use it against you. Before rival families use it against all of us. Another man, the youngest on the council, leaned in. Word is, he said, Serena Valentini has been telling people she and you have a history. Adrian's eyes darkened. A lie. Perhaps, the man said with a shrug. But the more she repeats it, the more it becomes truth. People don't care about facts. They care about scandal. Enzo tapped his cane again. So tell us, Adrian, what do you plan to do about Serena Valentini? Adrian didn't hesitate. I'm going to expose her. Interest sparked across their faces. I'm going to prove she orchestrated this from the start. And when I do, the Valentini family will have no choice but to leash her or cut her loose. Enzo nodded slowly, approvingly. Good. Handle it quietly, efficiently, and Adrian. His gaze sharpened like a blade. Do not let a girl dismantle what you built. Adrian bowed his head slightly. Understood. As Adrian exited the chamber, Rocco fell into step beside him. So what now? Rocco asked. Adrian grabbed his coat, voice cold, focused. Now? He replied. We find out how deep Serena's lies go, and then we bury them. Isabella Valentini had always carried herself like a quiet storm, soft on the surface, destructive underneath. But tonight, she was neither. Tonight, she was broken. Adrian found her in the one place he knew she'd run to when the world collapsed. The abandoned greenhouse behind the Valentini estate. The glass walls were cracked, the vines overgrown, the air thick with the scent of wilted roses. She sat on a stone bench, knees pulled to her chest, arms wrapped tightly around herself. Her shoulders shook with silent, desperate sobs. The sight punched the air out of Adrian's lungs. He approached slowly, careful not to startle her. But she sensed him anyway. Please, she whispered without looking up. I can't do this tonight. Adrian stopped a few steps away. I'm not here to fight. She let out a bitter, broken laugh. Then what are you here for? To fix the damage your kiss caused? Adrian clenched his jaw. It wasn't my kiss. She finally raised her head, and the raw pain in her eyes nearly shattered him. Adrian, I know Serena manipulates, I know she lies. But do you have any idea what it felt like? To see you holding her? Her voice cracked in the middle. To see her lips on yours and yours on hers? I didn't know it was her, he said quietly. Isabella, you know me. You know I would never. But you did. Her whisper was soft, but it hit him harder than a bullet. You didn't push her away. You didn't pull back. You didn't question anything. Adrian took a breath, slow and steady. I followed someone who touched me the way you do. I thought it was you. Isabella's throat bobbed as she tried to swallow the pain. Serena knows all my weaknesses, she whispered. Including you. Adrian frowned. I'm not a weakness. She met his gaze. You're my heart. That's worse. Silence filled the greenhouse. Heavy, suffocating. Isabella looked away, wiping her tears with shaking fingers. For years, she said quietly, I defended her. I excused her. I convinced myself she wasn't really trying to take everything from me. That she was just jealous, or lonely, or misunderstood. She laughed again, this time a laugh soaked in grief, not humor. But tonight she proved what I always feared. She doesn't want what I have. She wants what I love. A tear rolled down her cheek, and she loves taking it from me. Adrian took a slow step toward her. She didn't move away, but she didn't reach for him either. Isabella, he said softly, I am yours. No one else's. Serena's obsession has nothing to do with you and everything to do with her twisted need for control. She won tonight, Isabella whispered. Everyone saw what she wanted them to see. The council will question your judgment. Other families will use this against you. My father is already furious. And me. Her voice cracked. I'm humiliated. You didn't do anything wrong. But you did! The outburst rang through the greenhouse, sharp and painful. Isabella pressed a trembling hand over her mouth as if trying to pull the words back, but they were already out, already in the air, already in Adrian's chest like a blade. She lowered her hand, tears falling freely again. You hurt me, she whispered. Maybe not intentionally, but you did. Adrian closed his eyes for a moment, the weight of those 3 words suffocating him. When he opened them, his voice was low, raw. Then let me fix it. She shook her head weakly. You can't fix something Serena keeps breaking. I can stop her. How? Adrian stepped closer. Close enough that she could feel his breath. By ending her games, completely. Isabella looked up, searching his face. Adrian, promise me something. Anything. Don't let her destroy us. He gently cupped her cheek, wiping away a tear with his thumb. She won't, he murmured. I won't let her. But even as he said it, the shadows behind the glass shifted, and Serena watched from the darkness. Smiling, he wasn't supposed to follow her. He wasn't supposed to look that angry. He wasn't supposed to choose her. But Adrian Valenti, cold-blooded, calculating, terrifyingly controlled, was stalking down the marble hallway like a storm dressed in a tailored black suit. And his storm had only one target, Serena. She kept walking quickly, heels clicking too fast, breath too thin, mind too loud. She didn't dare look back, because she felt him. Behind her, hunting her, just like in the ballroom, just like in the kiss, just like in the whisper that still burned in her ear. Now you're mine. Serena's voice trembled. Adrian, just don't. But he didn't listen. A hand wrapped around her wrist, not gentle but not cruel, just firm enough to make her freeze. And when she did, Adrian stepped in front of her, jaw tight, eyes dark, the kind of dark that warned her she was standing too close to danger, and yet far too close to something else. You think you can run from me? His voice wasn't raised, but it shook straight through her. Serena swallowed. I'm not running, I'm avoiding. Avoiding him. Avoiding the truth. Avoiding the consequences. Adrian's laughter wasn't really laughter, more like a sharp exhale edged with frustration. Avoiding? After what you did? Her eyes snapped up. I didn't do anything on purpose. And yet you kissed me. His words struck like a blade. Serena's breath caught. I thought you were a stranger? Adrian stepped closer. Too close. A random man you could pull into the shadows? A warm mouth you could borrow for a second so your heart wouldn't feel lonely? Serena's throat tightened. Stop twisting it. But he wasn't done. Because I haven't twisted anything yet, he whispered. But I can. Her pulse slammed. She hated how her body reacted before her mind. She hated how he looked at her like he could see every secret she never meant to show. She hated how her skin warmed where he still held her wrist. But most of all, she hated how part of her wanted him to keep holding it. Let me go, she whispered. For the first time, his expression flickered. Not anger, not arrogance. Something quieter. Something he wasn't expecting either. No, one word, soft but absolute. Serena's breath hitched. Adrian, not until you listen. She looked away. I already know what you're going to say. Oh, do you? He tilted her chin up, forcing her eyes to meet his. Then tell me. Serena's chest tightened painfully. You're angry because I ruined things with Isabella. His eyes hardened. She ran crying out of the ballroom. And you... His voice lowered. You didn't even look at her. Serena's stomach dropped. He was right. She hadn't looked back. Not once. Because the moment she kissed him, her world had narrowed to just him. His mouth, his breath, the shock in his eyes. Everything else had disappeared. She felt ashamed, angry, confused, and dangerously aware of how close Adrian still stood. He saw it all. He always saw everything. That kiss, Adrian said softly, has consequences. Serena whispered, I know. No, he said, stepping even closer. You don't. His hand slid from her wrist to her waist. Not pulling, just resting. Just enough to remind her of the kiss, the heat, the forbidden tension tearing everything apart. I'm done pretending you don't affect me, Adrian said. Serena's breath trembled. You're Isabella's boyfriend. Was, he corrected. After tonight, I'm not sure. Her heart stopped beating. Adrian leaned down, lips near her ear, voice a low warning and a promise all at once. And I'm not letting you walk away from what happened between us. Serena whispered, Adrian, please, this is wrong. His answer was slow, devastating. Then why does it feel like the first right thing in a long time? Her knees weakened, her world blurred, and that was the moment. Right there, when footsteps echoed from the end of the hallway. Isabella, crying, shaking, watching them, and Serena's entire universe collapsed. Adrian didn't flinch when Isabella appeared. Serena did. Serena's heart dropped so hard it felt like the floor disappeared beneath her. Isabella stood at the end of the hallway, eyes red, mascara streaked, chest rising and falling in uneven breaths. She looked broken, betrayed, terrified, and the worst part, she wasn't looking at Adrian. She was looking at Serena. Why? Isabella whispered, voice cracking in the middle. Why are you standing so close to... him? Serena stepped back instantly, almost stumbling, pulse pounding in her ears. The space between her and Adrian snapped like a rubber band stretched too far. But it was too late. Too late to hide. Too late to fix. Too late to pretend nothing had happened. Isabella, Serena breathed, please, just let me explain. But Isabella shook her head violently, like explanations were knives she didn't want to be stabbed with. Adrian exhaled sharply. He stepped forward, placing himself slightly in front of Serena. A shield. A decision. Isabella blinked in disbelief. You're protecting her? Adrian's jaw tightened. I'm not protecting anyone, but I'm not letting you attack her when you don't know the whole story. The whole story? Isabella's voice cracked on a laugh. Too sharp, too painful. I saw enough. You were holding her like she belonged to you. Serena felt her lungs collapse. Adrian didn't deny it. Not a single word. And that silence hurt more than anything. Isabella's voice turned into a tremble. Adrian, you didn't even come after me. You came after her. That was true. And that truth hung in the hallway like smoke. Serena stepped forward, her voice soft. Isabella, I swear, I thought he was someone else. It wasn't intentional. I didn't mean to hurt you. Isabella stared at her sister, shaking. You didn't mean it? You kissed my boyfriend. You... Serena, how could you? Serena's throat closed. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was drunk, overwhelmed. I wasn't thinking. Were you thinking when he grabbed your waist just now? The question sliced through the air. Adrian stiffened. Serena broke. Isabella, please. I know what it looked like, but nothing happened. Nothing else. Will happen. I'll stay away. No. Adrian's voice cut through hers. Serena froze. Isabella's eyes widened. What? Serena whispered. Adrian turned toward her, eyes dark, intense, unyielding. You're not running from this. Not from me. Not from what happened. Adrian, Isabella whispered. You can't be serious. But he was. He stepped closer to Serena, not touching her this time, just close enough that it felt like the air shifted between them. I'm done covering for this family, Adrian said. Done pretending everything is fine when it's not. Done being controlled by guilt, expectations, or old promises. Serena's breath hitched. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm not losing myself to protect a relationship that's been dead for months. Isabella gasped. Dead? Adrian, you're ending us? Because of her? Adrian didn't break eye contact with Serena. I'm ending us because we were already ending, long before tonight. Serena felt dizzy, guilty, shocked, and painfully aware of the weight of his words. Isabella pressed a trembling hand to her chest. You knew she had a crush on you. Serena's knees nearly gave out. Isabella? You knew? Isabella repeated, louder, broken. And you still kissed him. Serena's tears burned. I didn't mean to. And you. Isabella turned to Adrian, voice shaking with anger and grief. You're not even denying it. You're not even trying to fight for me. There was a long pause, a heavy, brutal pause. Then Adrian spoke. I am fighting, he said, but not the fight you want. That sentence changed everything, because it wasn't just an ending. It was the beginning of a war between sisters, a war inside Adrian himself, a war that was going to destroy their family before it even started. Isabella stumbled back, covering her mouth, sobbing. Then she ran. Again. This time Adrian didn't move to follow. This time Serena was the one who whispered, barely breathing, What have you done? Adrian's answer was low, cold, and terrifyingly certain. Exactly what needed to be done. Isabella had retreated to the quiet sanctuary of her childhood bedroom, walls lined with memories of innocence, laughter, and fleeting happiness. But tonight, those walls were no protection. They felt small, suffocating, filled with echoes of betrayal and shame. She sank onto the edge of her bed, tears still streaking her face, and clutched her phone like a lifeline. Her fingers trembled as she scrolled, trying to ignore the storm raging in her chest. But fate had other plans. A message blinked on the screen, from someone she barely trusted, yet trusted more than anyone right now. Serena has done this before, with others. Be careful. Her breath caught. She reread it. She's a pattern, always the same. She sets traps, ruins relationships, and walks away smiling. Don't let her ruin you too. Her heart sank. Isabella's mind raced back through every detail, every subtle manipulation, every sly smile Serena had ever given her, every moment Adrian had seemed distracted, yet nothing had made sense until now. She realized with a sickening clarity that she had been blind. And Serena had always been waiting for the perfect opportunity, waiting for Adrian. Isabella felt a rush of anger so hot it burned in her chest. Rage at her sister, rage at herself, rage at Adrian for being drawn into Serena's web despite every warning, every instinct, screaming danger. She wanted to scream. She wanted to run. She wanted to rip Serena out of the world and make her feel the humiliation and pain she had inflicted. But the message continued. She's dangerous. Don't confront her alone. Let Adrian handle it. Isabella's fingers froze. Adrian. He knew. Of course he knew. He always knew. And somehow, that made everything worse. The thought of him standing there, calculating, waiting, seeing Serena's obsession for exactly what it was, sent a thrill of hope mingled with fear through her. She whispered into the empty room, voice shaky. So, it's not just about me. It had never been about her. It had always been about power, about control, about Serena's twisted need to possess what didn't belong to her. And now she had Adrian's full attention, his suspicion, his focus, his inevitable retaliation. Isabella realized something terrifying and liberating at the same time. She wasn't powerless. If she played her cards right, she could survive Serena's storm. She could protect herself. She could reclaim Adrian. Not because he needed saving, but because she could prove Serena wrong. Her pulse slowed as determination replaced fear. She wasn't going to let the younger sister win. Not tonight, not ever. But first, she needed the facts. She needed to understand Serena's full strategy. She remembered the whispers in the ballroom, the sly glances, The perfect timing, everything, had been orchestrated. Nothing was accidental. She grabbed her phone again and typed quickly, sending messages to the few allies she trusted. People who knew the Valentini family inside and out. People who could uncover Serena's past manipulations before the council or rival families did. She sent a final message, her fingers shaking but steady with purpose. I need proof. Everything. I can't fight her blindly. Help me see the pattern before it's too late. Isabella leaned back against the wall, her chest rising and falling as adrenaline flooded her veins. She was no longer the girl crying in the greenhouse. She was a fighter, and the first step was learning the truth. Outside, the mansion remained quiet. The chandeliers still glimmered in the darkness. The underworld whispered secrets and lies. But for the first time, Isabella wasn't listening to the whispers. She was preparing to act, because Serena may have had the first move, but the war was just beginning. And Isabella was not about to lose. The night had fallen over the city like a velvet curtain, hiding every secret, every danger, every whispered threat. But some secrets don't stay hidden for long, especially when Serena Valentini was involved. Adrian Russo moved through the streets like a shadow, silent, controlled, every step, deliberate. But tonight, he could feel her. He didn't see her, but he knew Serena was near. Too near, too deliberate. It wasn't luck. It was strategy. She had planned this carefully. Every detail designed to pull him into her orbit, every distraction, meant to make him vulnerable. Adrian's instincts screamed danger. He slowed, eyes scanning the dark alleyways, the narrow passageways between abandoned warehouses, the rooftops where someone or something could watch. And then he saw her, Serena. Leaning against a wall with her coat pulled tight, lips slightly parted, eyes shimmering in the streetlight, innocence almost. But he knew better. Adrian, she called softly, voice like honey dripping over steel. I didn't expect to see you here. Adrian's pulse didn't quicken. Not yet. He stepped closer, calm, measured. I didn't come here to meet you, Serena. Her smile widened, slow, predatory. Oh, but you did. Otherwise you'd be walking away. He stopped. He sensed it. The trap. She had set it. Every shadow, every step, every look was orchestrated to put him exactly where she wanted him. You're playing a dangerous game, Adrian said, his voice low, a warning wrapped in ice. She tilted her head, mock innocence shining through the darkness. I'm just trying to see the real you. Adrian's eyes narrowed. I'm not who you think I am. And if you think you can corner me, you're mistaken. But Serena didn't move. She didn't step back. She didn't run. She let him approach, let him see her fully, let him feel the tension crackling between them. And then the first move. Serena took a single step forward, and suddenly the alleyway doors slammed shut behind him. Locks clicked, chains rattled. Adrian's eyes darted to the mechanism. She had done it, planned it, trapped him. You see? She whispered, voice soft, coaxing. It's easier when you're where I want you. Adrian's mind raced. Every scenario, every escape, every potential fight flashed before him. But she wasn't just testing him. She was testing her power, testing how far she could bend him. You think this works on me? He asked, voice low, dangerous. Her smile didn't falter. I know it does. The alley was small, cold, metallic echoes bouncing off the walls. Serena closed the distance slowly, deliberately, her hands brushing his chest, not threatening, but intimate enough to make him tense. You don't have to fight, she whispered. Not tonight. I always fight, Adrian said, stepping toward her, but not recklessly. Every movement, calculated, every step measured. He wasn't about to fall into her trap without a plan. Her eyes sparkled with mischief and obsession. Then show me. And that was when Adrian acted. Not out of anger, not out of desire, but out of control. He grabbed her wrists, gently but firmly, guiding her to the side, not harming her, not surrendering, but showing her that he could, if he wanted to, counter every move, anticipate every trick. Serena's breath caught. For the first time tonight, she paused. A flicker of hesitation crossed her face. Adrian stepped back, releasing her wrists, but keeping his eyes locked on hers. "I'm not yours to trap," he said softly. "Not tonight. Not ever." Serena's smile faltered, just a fraction, but it was enough. She knew the game had changed. Yet even as she backed away, eyes glowing in the dim light, Adrian could feel it. She wasn't done. She never would be, because Serena Valentini didn't lose. She adapted. She struck again. And he knew. This war was far from over. Adrian Russo had endured many battles in his life. Gunfights in dark alleys, betrayals that cut deeper than any blade, threats whispered behind velvet curtains. But tonight was different. This was a battle not of bullets, not of muscle, but of minds. Serena Valentini thought she could control him, thought she could trap him, manipulate him, push him into her game like a pawn on a chessboard. But she had underestimated one thing. Adrian was a player, not a piece. He stepped back from the alley where she had tried to trap him. Every muscle in his body was alert, every sense tingling with anticipation. Serena's smirk followed him, confident, sharp, predatory, but he didn't flinch. Not now, not ever. "You're smiling," he said softly, voice low, dangerous. "You think you won." Serena tilted her head, letting the streetlight catch the glint in her eyes. "I haven't even started," she said. Adrian smiled. Not the warm, inviting smile people saw when he charmed the city, but the cold, calculated one reserved for moments like this. "Then let's begin." He moved first, not toward her, but around her, controlling the space, closing the exit routes, guiding her subtly but unmistakably toward a tighter area where her movements became limited, each step precise, each motion deliberate. He wasn't aggressive, he wasn't cruel, he was measured, in control. Serena blinked. For the first time tonight, her confidence faltered. She realized she wasn't cornering him anymore. She was being funneled into his rhythm, trapped by the very man she had sought to dominate. Adrian stopped a mere foot away. His presence filled the alley, magnetic, overwhelming. "Do you see now?" he asked, voice a low growl. "I decide the game, you don't." Serena's lips parted, a whisper escaping her throat. "You... how?" He leaned slightly closer, enough to brush a strand of hair from her face, his gaze holding hers in a way that burned hotter than fire. "I watch. I wait. I anticipate. You can plan all you want, but I see the moves before they happen." Her chest rose and fell, rapid, anxious. She tried to step back, but Adrian's shadow cut off the path. The alley that had felt like her victory now felt like a cage, and he was the one holding the lock. "You can't manipulate me," he continued, voice low and deadly calm. "I don't respond to fear. I don't respond to games. I respond to reality. And your reality is simple. You think you control me. You don't." A flicker of anger, then awe, crossed her face. Serena had never been challenged like this. Not by a man, not by anyone. And yet, she was drawn to it, simultaneously terrified and exhilarated. Adrian stepped closer still, not touching her, but close enough that the tension between them became unbearable. "And now," he said softly, "the tables have turned. You are on my terms." Serena's smirk returned, smaller, more guarded, but still there. "And what will you do with me?" "I'll do what I want," he whispered, voice husky with controlled intensity. "I'll end your games before they start. I'll decide who moves, who falls, who stays standing. And I won't lose. This time, I dictate the outcome." For the first time, Serena realized something crucial. She wasn't untouchable. Her calculated moves, her whispers, her traps, They could be anticipated, countered, and reversed. And Adrian Russo, he was the kind of man who never lost control. The air between them was thick, electric, dangerous, yet intoxicating. Each recognized the other's strength. Each tested the other's limits. But tonight, the balance had shifted. Adrian's voice softened, almost teasing, almost intimate. Consider this a lesson, Serena. I don't play by your rules. I play by mine. Her eyes narrowed, lips twitching into a reluctant smile. Then let's see who wins the next round. Adrian's smirk mirrored hers, calm, confident, deadly. The war had just changed. The game was no longer hers alone, and he was ready to win. The Valentini mansion had never felt so silent. Even the chandeliers, dripping gold and crystal, seemed to watch as if anticipating the storm about to break. Isabella had returned, carefully piecing together Serena's past manipulations, following every whisper, every rumor, every subtle hint. She had allies now, people who had witnessed Serena's schemes before, people who could confirm what Isabella already feared. Her sister was far more dangerous than anyone realized. She was ready to expose Serena. But Adrian, he had another plan. He didn't just want to protect Isabella. He wanted to control the battlefield. He wanted Serena to feel every inch of her miscalculated confidence crumble. And it started with betrayal. Not his, not hers, but theirs, the people they thought they could trust. It began subtly. A whisper from Matteo's right-hand man. A seemingly innocent comment over drinks in the private lounge. Did you hear about Adrian and Serena last night? People are saying. Adrian's eyes narrowed. He knew the council would hear soon. He knew that whispers could become truths faster than bullets. But Isabella didn't, not yet. She trusted her inner circle, her family's loyal aides, people who had stood by the Valentini, name for decades. And tonight, that trust would shatter. She found the first clue in her father's study. A file, left carelessly on the polished mahogany desk. Serena's handwriting on the corner. It wasn't just notes. It was a strategy, meticulously, detailing the steps to manipulate Adrian, to corner him, to expose him in front of the Mafia, counsel, to make Isabella seem weak, indecisive, incapable of protecting him. And it worked. Isabella felt bile rise in her throat. Her hands shook as she flipped through the pages, realizing just how much her sister had orchestrated behind the scenes. Every subtle move, every accidental slip, it had been calculated. And now the betrayal was complete. Because the people Isabella thought were on her side, trusted aides, family advisors, had been complicit. Serena had whispered to them, manipulated their fears, and turned them into instruments of her game. The weight of it hit Isabella like a bullet. She sank into a chair, clutching the papers to her chest. She had no allies here, not real ones, not trustworthy ones. She thought of Adrian, and the tension in her chest tightened. Would he see this as weakness? Would he judge her for being blindsided by Serena's schemes? She didn't have to wait long. Adrian entered the study silently, eyes scanning the room before resting on her. "You found it," he said softly. Not accusatory, not angry, just observant. She nodded, unable to speak. He stepped closer, voice low and controlled. "This is the first betrayal," he said. "And it's not hers. It's everyone who let her use them. Everyone who trusted her over you." Isabella's voice cracked. "I don't even know who I can trust anymore." Adrian's hand brushed hers briefly. "You can trust me. That's all that matters." Her chest heaved. Relief, anger, confusion, desire, fear, all tangled together. Outside, the night seemed to hold its breath. Somewhere in the mansion, Serena moved, silently, unaware that Adrian had already anticipated her next step. That the tables had already turned. "This betrayal," Adrian whispered. "It's the beginning of the end for her." Isabella's eyes widened. "The beginning of the end?" "Yes," he said, "and you'll see. We'll take every advantage she gave us, every misstep, every lie, and we'll use them against her. She's dangerous, Isabella, but she underestimated one thing." "What?" she asked, voice barely a whisper. "You." And in that moment, Isabella felt the first spark of hope since the kiss. The whispers, the chaos. The war wasn't over, far from it. But for the first time she realized they could win. The betrayal had been severe and painful and brutal, but Adrian Russo had turned it into a weapon, and Serena Valentini had no idea what was coming next. Adrian Russo didn't make mistakes. Not in business, not in battle, and certainly not when dealing with Serena Valentini. Tonight, the battlefield was set. Not with guns, but with strategy, patience, and shadows. The alleyways, the ballrooms, the council rooms, all had become pieces on his chessboard, and Serena had been moving recklessly, blinded by obsession and arrogance. He leaned against the polished black car parked in the quiet of the night, watching the mansion from a distance. Lights flickered behind the tall windows. Shadows danced. Serena moved. Inside, completely unaware that she was about to step into the trap he had designed. The trap was simple in concept, terrifying in execution. He knew Serena's patterns, her manipulations, the subtle ways she twisted situations to her advantage. And he also knew her weaknesses, her arrogance, her need to be seen, her need to control. He had placed whispers in the right ears, subtle hints in the council, and orchestrated small, accidental meetings with key allies. Everything carefully constructed to make Serena believe she was ahead, untouchable, omnipotent, and she would walk right into it. Inside the mansion, Serena moved gracefully, exuding confidence, unaware of the storm outside that mirrored the one she had tried to create inside him. She smiled at family members, laughed, softly at jokes, yet her mind ticked, calculating, scheming. She didn't know Adrian had already anticipated every move she could make tonight. He entered quietly, blending into the shadows. Step by step, he guided the night exactly where he wanted it. Every light, every lock, every ally silently aligned. Every word Serena would hear would come from the right mouth, planted with perfect timing to make her believe she was cornering him, while in reality she was being led. He found Isabella waiting in a side corridor, her hands trembling slightly. She looked up at him, and he gave the slightest nod. The plan was in motion. She would be the bait, not to hurt her, but to draw Serena's focus away from the larger moves he was orchestrating. "Are you ready?" he whispered. Isabella swallowed. "As ready as I'll ever be." Adrian took her hand briefly, steadying her. "Remember, Serena thrives on fear. She thrives on chaos. Don't let her see either in you. Stay calm, stay in control, and watch her make the first mistake." A faint click echoed somewhere in the mansion, the sound of doors locking, pathways closing. Serena would soon realize she was no longer moving freely. Every corridor she chose, every ducker she opened, every glance she made would play into his design. Adrian's lips curled into a cold, confident smile. He loved this. The elegance of control, the precision of timing, the thrill of anticipating the enemy's every step. Serena had tried to trap him before, but tonight, the hunter became the architect. The first confrontation would be small, subtle, a whisper, a look, a suggestion planted perfectly. But the ripple effect would be catastrophic for Serena. By the time she realized she was caught, there would be no escape. "Remember," Adrian murmured to Isabella, "she thinks she's playing you, but tonight she will learn exactly who controls the game." Isabella nodded, bracing herself. Outside, the night wind whispered against the mansion walls. Shadows stretched long across the garden. And from his position, Adrian watched Serena move unknowingly into the center of the trap, a web of her own making now turned against her. The stage was set, the pieces in place, and Adrian Russo, Mafia boss, strategist, and master of patience, was ready. Because in this war, one wrong move, one whisper, one moment of arrogance could cost Serena everything, and Adrian intended to make sure she paid for every manipulation, every lie, every attempt to control him. The trap was ready. And soon, Serena Valentini would discover just how deadly it was. Isabella Valentini had always been underestimated. Gentle, composed, loyal, the kind of daughter everyone assumed would bend under pressure, play it safe, and never make waves. But tonight, all of that changed. She had spent weeks piecing together Serena's moves, mapping every whisper, every deception, every subtle manipulation, every lie Serena had told, every trap she had set, now formed a pattern, a blueprint for counterattack. And Isabella had a weapon Serena could never anticipate: knowledge. She sat in the dimly lit study, a single lamp casting shadows across her face, and reviewed the files Adrian had helped her collect. Names, dates, events, all pointing to a single truth. Serena's obsession wasn't just with Adrian. It was with power, control, and dominance. Every person she touched became part of her game. Every move calculated to elevate herself at the expense of others. And now Isabella would turn that weapon against her. She picked up her phone and sent precise coded messages to trusted allies within the Valentini network. People who had been loyal to her quietly, waiting for the moment to act. She didn't need a show of force yet. She needed leverage, intelligence, and timing. Every ally she reached, every confirmation she received became a layer in the trap Adrian had begun setting. Then came the hardest part, confronting Serena directly. She found her sister in the grand ballroom, alone, reviewing the guest list for tomorrow's gathering. A routine Serena turned into a ritual of control. Serena looked up, eyes narrowing as she saw Isabella enter. "You're persistent," Serena said, a smirk curling her lips. "Even after everything tonight." Isabella took a slow breath, calm, steady. "I've learned a few things. About you. About your patterns, about your games." Serena laughed softly, a sound meant to unsettle. "Oh, really? And what could you possibly have learned?" Isabella stepped closer, holding the files and phone like armor. "I've learned that you always move too fast when you think you're winning, that you underestimate those you think are weaker, that your obsession with controlling Adrian blinds you to what's in front of you." Serena's smirk faltered, just slightly. A flicker of doubt crossed her eyes. But Isabella didn't pause. "And I've learned how to use that against you," Isabella said. "You think you've trapped him. You think you're in control, but you've set yourself up for the first time." Serena's lips pressed into a thin line. "And what? You'll stop me?" "No," Isabella replied, voice quiet but deadly. "I'll expose you. I'll make the people who follow you, your allies, your family, everyone who trusts your lies, see the truth. You manipulate. You lie. You destroy. And tonight I make sure everyone knows it." Serena's eyes flashed with anger, fear, and something else, a fleeting respect. For the first time, she realized Isabella wasn't just reacting. She was orchestrating. She wasn't afraid. She was prepared. "And Adrian?" Serena asked, a note of challenge in her voice. "He's already part of the plan," Isabella said, voice steady. "He's watching, waiting, ensuring. You can't escape the consequences." The tension in the room was electric, charged with the knowledge that the balance had shifted. Serena had always believed she could manipulate both sisters. She had underestimated Isabella's patience, intelligence, and now her secret weapon. "This isn't over," Serena whispered, voice low, almost a hiss. "No," Isabella said, taking a slow step back. "It's just beginning. But now the rules are mine." Outside, the mansion seemed to hold its breath. Shadows stretched longer. The wind whispered, secrets no one could hear, and the first pieces of Serena's carefully built empire began to wobble. Adrian's plan had set the stage, but Isabella's weapon, knowledge, courage, and timing, was the key to turning the tide. And tonight, Serena Valentini would learn that even the most dangerous sister could be outmaneuvered. The Valentini mansion was quiet, eerily so. The chandeliers cast long, jagged shadows across, the marble floors reflecting the tension that had built over weeks of manipulation, obsession, and secrets. Tonight, it would all end. Adrian Russo entered the grand ballroom alone, black suit sharp, eyes sharper. He didn't need an entourage. He didn't need muscle. He carried something more powerful, control, and he knew exactly where to use it. Serena Valentini stood near the staircase, arms folded, lips pressed into a tight line. The confidence she had carried for years, the arrogance that had led her to believe she could manipulate Adrian, was gone. Now there was just fear, masked with defiance, barely holding, the cracks of panic at bay. Isabella stepped forward, trembling slightly, but no longer afraid. She had fought. She had planned. She had survived. And now, she was ready to witness the reckoning. Adrian's voice cut through the silence, calm but commanding. "Serena, this ends tonight." Serena's eyes flickered with something dark. "You think you can destroy me?" "I'm not destroying you," Adrian said, slow and deliberate. "I'm ending your games. You've hurt too many people, me, Isabella, your own family, and there will be consequences." The room held its breath. Every guest, every servant, every distant cousin, even the family, Patriarch Don Matteo, watched as the Mafia boss made his move, poised, unshakable. "Adrian, wait!" Serena tried, her voice cracking. "You wanted control," Adrian said, stepping forward. His gaze pierced hers, unrelenting. "You wanted me. You wanted Isabella. You wanted power. But you forgot one thing," Serena faltered. "What?" "I decide the rules. I decide who stays, who falls, who survives. And I protect the people I care about." He turned slightly toward Isabella. She felt the warmth in his gaze, the unspoken promise. She was safe. She had won the most important battle, her heart, her dignity, and Adrian's trust. "Serena," Adrian continued, voice low, ice over steel, "you crossed a line. You manipulated your family, endangered people who trusted you, and threatened everything I built. There's no forgiveness for that. Not here, not now." Serena's smirk wavered. "You can't—" "I can," he interrupted, "and I will." Adrian didn't raise his hand, didn't shout, didn't make threats. He simply announced her fate. Quietly, definitively. "You're out, permanently. This family will sever ties with you. The council will enforce consequences if you step out of line again. You've made your choices, and now you face them." The words struck like a hammer. Serena's eyes widened, disbelief cracking her mask. She realized, too late, that every step, every manipulation, every obsession had led her here, to isolation, rejection, and moral justice. Don Matteo, patriarch of the Valentini family, stepped forward. His voice was trembling, not with anger but regret. I should have seen it sooner. I failed." Isabella's chest tightened as her father's words landed. Serena's obsession had poisoned the family, and now the regret was universal. But Isabella felt no fear, only relief. Adrian had restored balance, restored morality, restored honor. Adrian finally turned fully to Isabella, his hand brushing hers. "You're safe, always." Tears filled her eyes. Not from fear, not from anger, but from gratitude, from the knowledge that justice had been served and love preserved. Serena tried one last plea, weak, desperate. "Adrian, Isabella, please." He shook his head. "No, you made your choices. I'm protecting her. That's final." Silence filled the room, heavy but cleansing. The house exhaled as though the shadows themselves were relieved. Adrian's final choice had been decisive. He protected the woman who mattered, the one who had been loyal, brave, and true, and he cut the dangerous sister out of the circle forever. And in that moment, Isabella realized the magnitude of what had happened. The family had learned regret, the guilty faced justice, and the right person had been chosen, not out of obligation, but out of unwavering moral clarity. Adrian whispered to her, voice soft but resonant. "We move forward, together." And with that, the chaos ended. The moral scales restored, and the love that had been tested, through obsession, betrayal, and war, stood stronger than ever, untouchable, undeniable, and unbroken. Serena Valentini's shadow would linger, but it no longer had power. The future belonged to Adrian and Isabella, and nothing, not obsession, not deceit, not regret, could take it away. And that's how the night ended, with choices made, secrets exposed, and hearts finally protected. Adrian and Isabella emerged stronger, while the shadows of betrayal faded into the past. If you felt every whisper, every kiss, every heart-stopping moment, don't miss a single twist of this story. Subscribe now and follow their journey, because every shadow hides a secret, every family has its regrets, and every choice can change everything. Stay with us and witness the next chapter of love, power, and consequences, where every heartbeat matters.